It started like any ordinary night in Brooksville, the streetlights buzzing over cracked sidewalks as 17-year-old Malcolm Reed walked home, hoodie up, backpack slung tight against his shoulder, the gold glint of a chess trophy peeking out from the zipper. He'd just won the regional championship, the kind of victory that meant something big, a scholarship, a chance, a way out, but he didn't know the next few minutes would test more than his skill on the board. Before we start, hit that like and subscribe button, then comment where you're watching from. Your support keeps these powerful stories coming. A siren cut through the quiet, red and blue lights flashing against his face, and before he could even react, a deep voice barked, "Hey! You! Stop right there!" Malcolm froze, heart thumping. Out of the cruiser stepped Sergeant Harlan Briggs, tall, broad, and already looking at him like a suspect. "What are you doing out here this late?" Briggs asked, tone thick with suspicion. Malcolm swallowed. "Just heading home, sir, from a chess tournament." Briggs smirked. "Chess, huh? That's a new one. You mean checkers, right?" Malcolm shook his head. "No, sir. Chess." But the man wasn't listening. The flashlight beam hit Malcolm's chest, then the bag. "What's in there?" Briggs demanded. "My trophy," Malcolm said softly. The officer yanked the bag open, eyes landing on the golden figure of a king piece gleaming under the streetlight. He laughed. "This yours?" "Sure it is." Malcolm's stomach dropped. "You can call my coach, save it," Briggs cut him off. "Where'd you steal it from?" Before he could speak again, the officer shoved him against the car. Metal cuffs clicked around his wrists. "You people never learn," Briggs muttered. "Out here, you're nobody." The words burned. Malcolm stood silent, chest tight, anger and humiliation twisting inside him, but he refused to let tears fall. He knew the truth, he wasn't nobody. He was the state's youngest chess champion, just accepted to Princeton on full scholarship. But to Briggs, all he saw was a threat in a hoodie. At the station, his mother, Angela Reed, stormed in, still in her scrubs from the hospital, exhaustion on her face but fire in her eyes. "You arrested my son for walking home," she demanded. "He fit the description," Briggs said coolly. "The description of what?" she shot back. Before Briggs could answer, the captain entered. "Sergeant, I've reviewed the body cam. The boy did nothing wrong. Release him." Briggs clenched his jaw but obeyed. As the cuffs came off, Malcolm looked him dead in the eye. "You said I was nobody," he whispered. "Still are," Briggs muttered. Malcolm picked up his bag, held his head high, and walked out with his mother. 3 weeks later, City Hall was buzzing. The mayor's Youth Excellence Gala drew cameras, reporters, and all the big names. Malcolm stood backstage, suit pressed, trophy shining beside him. When the announcer spoke his name, National Chess Champion, Malcolm Reed, the crowd erupted. Flashbulbs popped. And in the back of the room, Briggs stood in uniform, part of the event's security detail. His face drained of color. Malcolm walked up to the podium, adjusted the mic, and said, "When I started playing chess, people told me it was a smart man's game, that I didn't fit the image. But I learned something important. The board doesn't care what color you are. It only cares how you move." The audience went silent. Malcolm's voice strengthened. "A few weeks ago, someone looked at me and told me I was nobody. But the truth is, nobody stays a pawn forever." The crowd roared. Briggs shifted uncomfortably, sweat forming at his temple. The mayor smiled. "And now, as part of our new community mentorship program, we're pairing officers with our city's youth leaders. Officer Briggs, you'll be working directly with Mr. Reed." Gasps filled the room. Briggs tried to keep his composure. Malcolm stepped down, extended a steady hand, and smiled. "Guess you get a rematch, officer. This time, I play white." Laughter erupted, the cameras catching every second of poetic justice. But as the applause echoed, Malcolm noticed something strange, a man in a dark suit, standing at the edge of the room, watching him. No smile, no reaction. Just eyes sharp as glass. When Malcolm turned back for a second glance, the man was gone. Hours later, driving home, Malcolm and his mother listened to the radio. Breaking news: U.S. chess grandmaster Viktor Karsov has chosen young Malcolm Reed to represent America in the global championship. His mom beamed. "You did it, baby." Malcolm smiled softly. "Yeah, I guess I did." But then his phone buzzed. A new message. Unknown number. "You've made all the right moves, Malcolm. But the game's not over." His eyes narrowed. "Mom," he said quietly, "what if this isn't just about chess anymore?" She glanced at him. "What do you mean?" Malcolm stared out the window, city lights flickering like pieces on a board. "I think someone's watching the game," he whispered. The screen fades to black as the narrator's voice breaks the silence. They called him nobody. But they didn't know they were standing across from a king. And in life, like in chess, one wrong move can cost you everything. For Malcolm Reed, the next game might be his most dangerous yet. The city had changed for Malcolm Reed, but not in the way he expected. Ever since the gala, cameras followed him, reporters wanted quotes, and kids from every block whispered his name like he was some kind of legend, the black chess prodigy who turned humiliation into victory. But fame wasn't freedom. It was noise. It was weight. And deep down, Malcolm could feel that something, or someone, was watching every move he made. The text from that unknown number never left his mind: "You've made the right moves, but the game's not over." It was 3 weeks later when things started to feel off. One evening, Malcolm stayed late in the school library, practicing strategy for his upcoming match against Viktor Karsov's protege. When he left, the halls were empty, the lights humming. But as he reached his locker, he noticed a folded piece of paper sticking out. His name was written on it, in neat, tight handwriting. He opened it slowly. It read, "You're being played." Malcolm's chest tightened. He looked around, but the corridor was still. Just the sound of a janitor's mop echoing faintly from the other end. He shoved the note into his pocket and hurried out, his mind racing through possibilities. A prank? A threat? A warning? That night, he told his mother, but she brushed it off gently. "Baby, people get jealous when they see greatness. Keep your head in your game." But she didn't see the worry in his eyes, the kind of worry that comes from intuition, not fear. The next morning, Malcolm met Officer Briggs at the community center for their first mentorship session. Briggs looked uncomfortable in the civilian clothes, holding 2 coffees awkwardly. "Didn't think I'd be mentoring a chess genius," he muttered. Malcolm gave a polite smile. "Didn't think I'd be mentored by the man who arrested me," he replied calmly. Briggs winced. "Fair." The air between them was thick, but something about the officer's eyes looked different this time. Less arrogance. More guilt. They sat down at a chessboard in the rec hall. Briggs fumbled with the pieces. "I don't really know how to play." "That's fine," Malcolm said. "You'll learn fast. It's all about patience, strategy, and seeing past assumptions." Briggs hesitated. "You talking about chess or life?" Malcolm looked him dead in the eye. "Both." Halfway through the lesson, Malcolm's phone buzzed again. Unknown number. One message: "You shouldn't trust him." His blood ran cold. He looked up slowly. Briggs was watching him, unreadable expression. "Something wrong?" the officer asked. "No," Malcolm said quickly, locking his phone. "Nothing at all." But his mind was spinning. The timing, the wording, it was too precise to be coincidence. That night, Malcolm couldn't sleep. He sat at his desk, chessboard open, moving the pieces absent-mindedly. Pawn. Bishop. Knight. Every piece has a purpose. Every move has a cost. His eyes landed on the king piece, the symbol of victory, but also vulnerability. That's when his phone buzzed again. Another message. "You think you're the king. But you're just the next move." Malcolm's pulse quickened. He grabbed his jacket, stepped out of the house quietly, and went straight to the school library, the only place with security cameras in the hallway where he'd found the note. He convinced the night guard, an old friend of his mom's, to let him check the footage. Hours of grainy video scrolled by until, there. A shadowy figure in a gray suit, slipping something into Malcolm's locker. The man moved like smoke, confident, deliberate. And as he turned slightly toward the camera, the light caught his face for a brief second. Malcolm froze. It was the same man he'd seen at the gala, the one standing in the back of the room, watching him. The timestamp read 2:37 a.m. That was nearly an hour before Malcolm even arrived that day. His heart pounded. Who was this man? Why target him? And how did he know so much about his life? Malcolm took a screenshot of the footage and saved it to his phone. Just as he turned to leave, he noticed something strange on the library table, a small, white chess piece. The pawn. Perfectly carved. He hadn't brought it. He hadn't touched the board here. Someone left it for him. He picked it up, fingers trembling slightly. On the base, etched so small it was almost invisible, were the words, "Your move." The next day, Malcolm met with Briggs again. The officer seemed distracted, uneasy. "You all right, kid?" he asked. Malcolm hesitated. "Did you know anyone watching me at the gala?" Briggs frowned. "What do you mean?" There was a man, dark suit, older, olive skin, gray streak in his hair. Briggs went still for a second. "You said gray suit?" "Yeah," Malcolm replied slowly. Briggs looked away, his jaw tightening. "I've heard of him. Ex-intelligence. Private fixer type. They call him the man in the gray suit. He's not the kind of person who takes casual interest in a high school chess player." Malcolm's voice dropped. "Then why me?" Briggs stared at the board between them, eyes distant. "Because, son, maybe you're not playing his game. Maybe you're in it." Before Malcolm could respond, his phone buzzed again, a new message. This time, it wasn't text. It was a video file. He opened it slowly. The screen flickered to life, showing his mother, Angela, locking her car late at night, completely unaware of the figure standing in the distance, half hidden by shadows. The same gray suit. The message ended with one sentence, check. Malcolm's breath caught. He looked at Briggs, panic rising. He's watching her. Briggs stood up fast, grabbing his keys. We need to move. Now. But as they rushed toward the door, Malcolm's phone buzzed one last time. This time, it was a picture. The two of them, sitting at the chess table in the rec center, taken from above. The timestamp was 5 minutes ago. Malcolm's hand trembled. He turned slowly, scanning the room, every corner, every shadow. Somewhere, someone was already watching. The narrator's voice fades in, low and haunting. He thought the board was his to control. But now, the pieces are moving on their own. And when every move has consequences, who's really the player, and who's the pawn? The night was thick with tension as Malcolm and Officer Briggs sped through the quiet streets toward Malcolm's home. Every turn felt like a trap, every shadow a set of watching eyes. The picture on Malcolm's phone still burned in his mind, a photo of them taken just minutes ago. Someone was close. Too close. When they pulled up to the house, the front door was ajar. Stay behind me, Briggs whispered, gun drawn, moving cautiously inside. The lights were off. Malcolm's heart pounded as he called out, Mom? No answer. Then, a faint sound from the kitchen. They followed it slowly, and there she was, Angela Reed, sitting at the table, unharmed but trembling, a small white pawn on the table before her. He said to give you this, she whispered. Malcolm stepped forward, eyes wide. Who? Her voice shook. The man in the gray suit. A figure emerged from the shadows, calm, poised, and eerily familiar. The same man from the footage. The man in the gray suit. You've done well, Malcolm, he said softly. You think the world just noticed you because of your brilliance? No. You were chosen. Briggs aimed his weapon. Chosen for what? The man smiled faintly. For the next phase. Every system needs a disruptor, and he's mine. Before Briggs could respond, the man dropped a small device on the floor, a flash of blinding light filled the room. When the haze cleared, he was gone. Only the pawn remained, now carved with one new word, King. Malcolm stood frozen, realization dawning in his eyes. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. The narrator's voice fades in, he mastered the game of chess, but now, he's playing one where the stakes are real. And this time, losing isn't an option. The E&D, or maybe, just the opening move. Comment below if you know you enjoyed the story. Also don't forget to follow, subscribe and turn on the notification button for more stories coming up.